The thing about the we were close and the ifs, that was filled with a lot of ifs, and I love AJ. And I found myself doing this too, where you go, if they had just kicked that field goal, or if they had just done that, but you don't say the ifs for the other team. Like, if we had just gotten that stop, or if they, because everybody's got ifs. When you win a close game, the other team's day is filled, like the recap is filled with, if we had only done this. And when you lose a close game, everybody does it. And so you're trying to add on should have won wins and why you're better than you are. But you don't subtract the ones that you, quote, should have lost, where the other team, if they had executed, you would have lost. So it just baseball's so weird in that the season is so long, and any single game, anything can happen. You can have that game where you can't get out and you score 16 runs in the first 2 innings, and the game's over, and the other team drains a bullpen and puts a guy in there that there's just supposed to be an innings eater, and you light him up too, and you win 24-2. And then the next day you get shut out and have 3 hits. It's so weird. The variance in offensive production, I don't know if it's like that with any other sport.
It probably isn't, but the other thing is that I think the way that this team is constructed with their lineup, they're just incapable of going on a run because they don't have enough good players. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of mediocre players and maybe a couple players that have a chance to be better than that. I like what I've seen from Vierling, but I question is this what Matt Vierling is, or is this just a hot 3 weeks that he's on? I like Riley Green. But beyond that, it's like, what do they have? Mark Canha is a free agent at the end of the year. I think he's definitely a trade piece, but what's his trade value now? He hit 212 in the month of May, and he's hitting 182 so far in June. His OPS in May is 570, and it's 502 in June. I mean, he's taken a swan dive since the hot start, and that's one of the guys that you're counting on. And they just don't have those guys because they counted on players to take a step forward that didn't do it. Whether it was Torkelson or Meadows, they haven't done it. Guys they've given opportunities to. It's not really much of an opportunity for Akil Baddoo. He's getting spot duty, not really hitting it here. Wencel Perez is off to a nice start, but is he simply what Akil Baddoo was a couple of years ago? They only have, I think it's 4 guys on the team that play every day right now that are on the team that have a better than average OPS. And one of them is Mark Canha, who's at 720. But that OPS has plummeted over the last 6 weeks, as I detailed with what he's done in May and June. So it's really it's Perez, who's a small sample size, only 47 games. Matt Vierling through 60 games, and Riley Green through 66. Without Kerry Carpenter, they just don't have that everyday bat that you can really count on.
We're literally looking at a team, like we can get into the minutia, but the truth is they just don't have enough good players.
No,
it's not that complicated, right?
And it's frustrating, and I'm kind of resigned to that. So you're waiting for, okay, who's the next guy to come up? When they're going to get their chances? And when do you let them ripen too much down in Toledo, or is it not enough? When do you go back to Torque and Meadows and say, come on up? And I think the trade deadline is going to be an interesting day because everybody's looking at the pitching and. The talk of school. But neither one of us wants to move him. But Flaherty is a guy that he's supposed to return to the rotation this weekend. Hopefully he's fine. But they have to trade him because they need to get players on this team, major league ready players, guys that are doing something for another team, but maybe that they're just sort of blocked with being more productive than they need to be. And you got to give something to get something. The Tigers need to get something in return for Flaherty. And then you'll have your own free agents at the end of the year beyond Flaherty, like a Canha and like Urshela, that you have to consider moving as well. And once you get past the trade deadline, then you can say, Chase Young, come on up. Torkelson, you're back. And here goes Parker Meadows. And maybe you got a tough decision to make with some of the other guys that are already on this roster.